Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to today's explainer. If you're a focused learner, someone really looking to dramatically improve your product photos, well, you're in the exact right place. Today, we're going to build a crystal clear mental model of how light actually shapes a product. Because our goal here is pretty simple. We want to move you from just blindly copying lighting setups you saw online to actually understanding the physical system at play. By the end of this, you won't just be guessing with expensive lamps and diffusers anymore. You're going to be designing your own setups with complete confidence. Sound good? Let's get started.
So why does the same gear produce completely different photos? If you've ever bought a highly recommended piece of gear and thought, wait, why does this produce totally different photos for me than it does for the pros? Listen, you are absolutely not alone. It's a huge frustration for beginners. The trap here is thinking that expensive lamps or fancy diffusers are some kind of magic, or maybe just decoration. They aren't. Light actually behaves like a physical system. It travels, it hits surfaces, it changes direction, and it loses strength based on exactly how it meets your product.
There's this core truth in product photography that I just love. The gear is not the real story. The path of the light is. Think of it kind of like walking through Karachi's solder market at night. The exact same market stall can feel completely, totally different depending on whether the light is spilling out from a bright shop front, maybe bouncing off a nearby wall, or just coming straight down from overhead. The objects? They didn't change at all, only the way the light reached them did. Product photography works the exact same way.
And what's really interesting here is that every single lighting choice you will ever make actually boils down to just 4 variables. That's it: direction, distance, size, and surface. Once that clicks in your head, lighting completely stops feeling random. It starts becoming entirely readable. So let's actually break a few of these down so we can see exactly how they interact with your product.
Let's tackle the size variable first, because that dictates hard light versus soft light. Here's the rule of thumb. The apparent size of your light source controls its softness. So a small source creates these crisp, sharp shadows and reflections. A large source, on the other hand, creates gradual transitions and much softer shadows. But here's the absolutely critical part. Soft light isn't automatically better. It really just reveals different information. Think of using a flashlight in a dark room versus being outside under a broad, cloudy sky. That flashlight gives you a really sharp, defined patch of light, right? While the cloudy sky covers literally everything evenly. Neither is better in isolation. It just entirely depends on what texture and edges you actually want your product to reveal.
Okay, let's move on to distance and see how this builds. Distance fundamentally changes both the intensity and the spread of your light. If you bring a light closer to your product, the fall-off is way stronger, the highlights become much more dramatic, and those shadows deepen really quickly. But if you move it farther away, well, the illumination spreads out way more evenly across the scene. It's exactly like sitting right next to a loudspeaker. The sound is super intense and direct. But if you move farther away, that sound spreads into the room much more evenly. Light behaves just like that sound wave.
Now, this is where we hit a major mental shift. Surface material. A product isn't just some passive object waiting around to be lit. No way. It is an active participant in your setup. Think of it like this. Your product acts as a conversation partner with the lamp. And the material of that product actually determines whether the light is reflected, scattered, absorbed, or transmitted.
And this brilliantly illustrates how different surfaces react in completely distinct ways. Take matte surfaces. They scatter light softly, which gives you a really calm, clean, even look. Glossy surfaces, though, they reflect light like a literal mirror, creating a premium feel with super defined edges. And then you have transparent surfaces, which transmit light and reflection. And that is absolutely crucial for separating the object from the background. Picture rain falling on different types of roofs, right? Like a tiled roof, a metal roof, and a cloth awning. That rain behaves completely differently on each one. It spreads, it slides off, or it just absorbs and disappears. Your product surface does the exact same thing to light. Understanding how surfaces work naturally leads us to contrast, and that brings us straight to shadows. Now, beginners often treat shadows like problems they need to eliminate, but shadows are not mistakes. They are essential information. They define form, they separate objects, and they create depth. Think of a pencil drawing. A great sketch is built from both light marks and dark marks. If you erased all the dark areas, the drawing would completely collapse, right? Shadows are those necessary dark marks that help your whole product photo hold together.
So, how do we actually put all of this into practice to get those great photos? Well, we use a 3-part setup. First, you have your main light, and that creates the primary look and shape. Second, you use a bounce or a fill to soften the shadows while still preserving that shape. And third, you need a background strategy to support separation. Think of this whole thing like tailoring. You don't just pick out a shirt and then look for a body to put it on, do you? No, you look at the body, the product, first, and then you fit the shirt, the light, to it. You start with what the product's material needs, and you build this three-part system right around it.
But as you're building that setup, you have to constantly manage what's called the hierarchy of viewer attention. When someone looks at your image, their eye doesn't just inspect every single detail equally. No, it darts straight to the brightest area, the highest contrast, and the clearest edge first. Brightness is literally a steering wheel for attention. Think about being in a super crowded room. The loudest voice pulls your ear first, even if they aren't saying anything important. If you make the wrong part of your product too bright, or if you leave a distracting reflection in there, you are basically telling the viewer to look there first.
So the crucial point to remember is that in our three-part setup, none of these pieces work alone. They only really make sense in relation to each other. The main light brings the shape and visibility. The reflector, or fill, adds clarity to the shadows without introducing some confusing second hard light. And the background keeps the subject separated and readable. It's this beautiful, delicate negotiation of light, shadow, and separation. Every single one of these elements has a specific job in keeping the viewer's attention exactly where you want it.
Now here's a hidden element that catches almost every beginner completely off guard. The product does not only see the light, it also sees the room. Glossy and semi-glossy products basically act like a mirror with memory. The room itself is an active, living part of your lighting setup. A product photo is never just the lamp and the object. It includes the walls, the ceiling, the table, the whole shebang. Because light bounces, your environment is literally in the photo. Let's look at exactly how the room actually shapes that light. A white wall acts as a giant fill light, bouncing all that illumination right back onto your product. A dark wall, it's doing the exact opposite. It swallows up stray light and increases your contrast. Nearby bright surfaces can create messy, unwanted reflections, while nearby dark surfaces can create really elegant edge definition. Your walls and nearby surfaces act as invisible cards and reflectors. And, this is exactly why two people using the exact same lamp, but in two completely different rooms, will get vastly different photos. Which brings us to our final and, honestly, most important question. The next time you set up a shot, before you even touch a lamp, before you even think about buying a new diffuser, ask yourself, what is this product asking the light to do? When you finally stop guessing with gear and start diagnosing the physical system of light, you stop being a copier and you start acting like a true lighting designer. And that is the shift that changes absolutely everything. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer. I really hope this empowers you to take absolute control of your next shoot. Catch you next time.